Longview ISD Foundation. In 1995, the late Nicki Melton, who was a graduate of Longview High School, led members of the Longview community, many of whom were graduates of Longview High School, to found the Longview ISD Foundation. Our mission is to request, receive, maintain, and use funds to maximize the quality of education available in the Longview Independent School District. Mickey's main goal, because he came from a family of educators, including his wife, was to raise funds to provide an annual, what he called a Grants to Teachers program. Mickey had seen how often, especially everyone in this room who has ever taught school knows this, that teachers often spend some of their own funds to purchase things for their classroom. And Mickey had seen that from his parents. And he said, as much as possible, I would like to end that practice. So with that, we started the Grants to Teachers program and then renamed it to be the Great Rewards for Great Ideas. That program allows teachers, counselors, librarians, and nurses to apply for up to $2,500 for an innovative classroom project or for materials to enhance what Longview ISD already provides. Not only did Mickey think that this program would enhance what Longview ISD provides, he also said it would reward Longview ISD educators who want the very best educational opportunities possible for their students. So in 1996, the foundation began raising money, and that year only funded 21 grants for, we thought at the time, a lot of money, but a really very paltry $8,600. But that was just the beginning. The Great Rewards for Great Ideas program has grown immensely because of generous donations from businesses, corporations, individuals, alumni, and even LISD students, parents, and employees. Now, 26 years later, the foundation has 3 grant programs: the Great Rewards for Great Ideas and the Campus Initiative Grant Program. Since May 1996, the foundation has funded 728 grants through the Great Rewards for Great Ideas program, returning a little over $795,000 to Longview ISD classrooms so that we could help innovative teachers create new educational programs and enhance the ones that Longview ISD already has in place. These grants have funded programs and projects for students of all ability levels in a variety of disciplines, including projects in music, art, technology, character education, health education, physical education, and guidance and counseling. Technology has been one of the biggest requests, and now that the district has STEAM and STEM education, we've received a number of requests for programs that will enhance that education. In 2019, the foundation began its 3rd program, the John W. Harrison Jr. Academic Field Trip Grant. Teachers had come to the foundation and said we would love to have an opportunity to take 4th and 5th graders. We've now expanded it to middle school. They wanted to be able to take students beyond Gregg County to visit places like the Perot Museum in Dallas, NASA, and I'm proud to say that just this past Wednesday and Thursday, the 8th graders at Foster Middle School visited Austin, the Capitol, the LBJ Library, the Bob Bullock Museum. They were very busy. And I think even took a river tour of Lady Bird Lake that runs through Austin. Through this grant, we hope that students are able to extend their classroom learning and maybe see places that some of our students would not be able to go on their own. With its 3 grant programs, the Longview ISD Foundation has now returned a grand total of $960,332 to Longview ISD, getting closer and closer to the $1 million mark. In 2015, the Lobo Memorial Scholarship Fund merged with the Longview ISD Foundation to begin offering scholarships to deserving Longview High School seniors. This year, through the Lobo Memorial Scholarship Fund, the Longview ISD Foundation awarded $1,000 scholarships to 8 members of the class of 2021 and has funded a total of $171,000 in scholarships since the fund began. This year, as Dr. Wilcox said earlier, we had the opportunity to present inscribed bricks in Foundation Plaza at the southeast corner of Lobo Stadium to today's distinguished alumni. In 1997, Dr. Kenny Kimbrough, graduate of Longview High School and veterinarian in Longview, decided that we needed to have another, more permanent way to raise funds for the foundation. So he went out and secured donations from 7 Longview families to build Foundation Plaza inside Lobo Stadium. The foundation is indebted to the contributions of the late Ann Lacey Crane, Mr. and Mrs. Charles Kaplan and Mr. Robert Cargill Jr., Drs. Chris and Andy Mack and the late Dr. Sam Mack, Dr. and Mrs. James K. Simons, the late Mr. and Mrs. Tom Landers, Marjorie Kimbrough Dome and the late Mr. Kimbrough, and the late Mr. and Mrs. Gordon Johnson. They provided the funds to build Foundation Plaza, and we appreciate their generosity and dedication to the students and educators of Longview ISD. By purchasing bricks in the plaza, we have a steady income stream to fund the grants that I just spoke of. This morning, we beat the rain and were able to present the gift of an inscribed brick to honor each of this year's distinguished alumni. Blanche Henderson Brick, class of 1957, Joe Don Hawley, class of 1990, Dr. James Andrew Mack, class of 1978, and Ray Wade, class of 1986. The foundation is indeed proud of these alumni. Their inscribed bricks in the plaza will be a lasting tribute to them and their many successes, while acknowledging that Longview ISD in Longview, Texas, a town we're so proud of, that it was the beginning of their successes, just as it is the beginning of the successes for today's students. Thank you, and to this year's distinguished alumni, I bring congratulations on behalf of the Longview ISD Foundation.
Can you hear me? Good afternoon. I am James Hockenberry. I'm an assistant superintendent here in Longview ISD. Good afternoon and welcome, as Dr. Wilcox stated, to the 30th Distinguished Alumni Luncheon. You hear time and time again of the high achievements our students have earned from the best school district east of I-45 and know they will contribute to society in the future just as those we are honoring today have done. The administration of Longview ISD is committed to continuing the tradition of excellence established by our many distinguished alumni. We honor past greatness and build towards the future. Our district is made up of a very diverse student population and economic status, and in a time of great economic and legislative volatility, we at Longview ISD are committed to ensuring the kind of safe, healthy, and orderly environment that is critical for academic success. For example, Longview ISD's backpack program provides nutritional meals and snacks on weekends and holidays for children whose primary source of food is the school cafeteria. Funded by the district and community donations, for some kids this may be the only food they have until returning to school the next week. Another important part of laying a strong foundation for student success comes in the form of our state-of-the-art Montessori campus that opened in 2017 and houses our pre-K and kindergarten students. The largest facility of its kind in the entire country, the program encourages independent learning and has been shown to foster a culture of lifelong learners, self-starters, and strong psychological development. Whether it's our academic standouts who compete on a national level against the best of the best and often go on to attend elite colleges, our vocational programs preparing hardworking students for well-paying careers in a variety of skilled trades, or even the numerous superlative athletes who continue to excel on the collegiate and professional level. Our students, staff, and committed community make Longview ISD the best school district east of Interstate 45. Our mission is truly believing in excellence for all. It is now my pleasure to introduce several very special groups of individuals who have been instrumental in the success of the Distinguished Alumni Program and the excellence in education of LISD. I would like to introduce Superintendent Dr. James Wilcox. Again, Kay Ray, Executive Director of the Longview ISD Foundation. LISD Board of Trustee that's present today, Mr. Ted Beard. Any former distinguished alumni honorees, would you please stand? Congratulations. Also, if you served on the 2020 Selection Committee for Distinguished Alumni, would you please stand? Thank you very much. Also would like to give thanks to the Longview High School ROTC cadets and Sergeant Jackson, the Educational Support Center staff for helping with the luncheon, Casey Swain, who's right here, and Elizabeth Ross out in front of me with Community Relations, and Tracy Beard with Dr. Wilcox's office, who's over here as you entered. Also, nomination forms for next year are on the sign-in table and also on our website as we begin to prepare for the next group of distinguished individuals. Now, we will proceed to the introductions of our honorees. At this time, would Mr. Rex King and Dr. Brick make your way to the podium?
If I move this and speak in my big boy voice, can you hear me? You can't? Okay. All right. We'll go with the microphone then. It is an honor and a privilege to be here today to present Dr. Blanche Henderson Brick, class of '57, as she is honored with the Longview Independent School District's Distinguished Alumni Award. I've known Blanche for longer than most of you people have been around. We have been friends since the second grade at Campus Ward School, and being here reminds me of some of the best years of my life, as I was privileged to be a part of that class of '57 and be blessed by some of the greatest teachers that the world could know. Wonderful, giving, dedicated teachers whose influence continue with us today. It seems only appropriate that Dr. Brick would receive an award from her hometown, since she has devoted her lifetime to the education of boys and girls and men and women. Her family has been a part of the storied history of Longview High School. Her dad, Lewis Henderson, played football for the Lobos when the Lobos were coached by C.N. Wilkinson, who was better known later on to us as Wilkie. Her brother, Richard Henderson, played for the Lobos when they won the state championship in the 1930s, and it doesn't get any better than that. And then came Blanche with all of her contributions to the school. When I began this nomination process, I asked Blanche what her goals were when she was in school here in Longview. She told me that she had two major goals for her life. First, she wanted to be an exemplary Christian woman. I can personally attest to the fact that she reached that goal. She lists Dr. Marsh Ford as one who's had a profound influence on her life. Some of you will remember Dr. Ford as being a former pastor of the First Baptist Church here in Longview. And she continues to share her faith today as she serves as a Sunday school teacher in her church in College Station. Her second goal in life was to pursue a career in the field of education, and I cannot help but believe that some of those early teachers here in Longview were a big part in that decision, just simply because of the challenges that they laid before us. And pursue that career she did. After graduating from Longview, Blanche attended Baylor University, where she was elected to a number of prestigious positions. including Secretary of the Student Congress. She was president of her social organization, and she was president of the Inter-Club Council, which is big at Baylor. She says that the more education she got, the more that she desired. She completed one master's degree at George Washington University in D.C. She really loved D.C., and she wanted to learn more about how our government operated, and she eventually became the office manager from our senator, Senator Ralph Yarborough. Later, she would earn another master's degree in American history from the University of Hawaii, and then in 1983, she earned her doctorate in education and curriculum from A&M. And yet, with all of these degrees and all of her distinguished work record, when I asked her what the most significant accomplishment in her life had been thus far, she said it was marrying Bob Brick, having two wonderful children, Kathleen and John, who are with us here today, along with John's wife, Jamie, back in the back, and their youngest daughter, Olivia. Blanche's teaching history is varied and far-reaching, from right here in Longview at Foster Junior High to the American School in Karachi, Pakistan, along with other schools in Hawaii, Dallas, College Station, and then, of course, her teaching days at Blinn College and A&M. She was and is especially passionate about the history of our nation and the leaders that have built this nation to what it is today. She never passes up an opportunity to tell others how important it is to have capable, compassionate, and educated leaders at all levels of government who are willing to learn from history so as not to make the same mistakes that we've made in the past. To that end, she is a member of the East Texas Historical Association, the Central Texas Historical Association, and the Texas State Historical Association. I believe that covers our state. She continues to be a frequent contributor to her local newspaper, the Bryan College Station Eagle, with articles such as, "Americans are better than this." 50 years later, the enemy we face is us. And more money doesn't mean better education, along with many others. Academic publications include Lois Killingsworth Jackson, Longview's first woman mayor, in the East Texas Historical Journal in 1996. Changing Concepts of Equal Educational Opportunity, a comparison of the views of Thomas Jefferson, Horace Mann, and John Dewey, in the American Educational History Journal in 2005. And I could name many others. As Blanche continued her learning experiences in life, she felt compelled to take an active part in her city government. Accordingly, she ran for and was twice elected by the people of College Station to be a member of their city council. And she was, to say the least, an avid participant in issues including neighborhood rights, planned sensible growth, and other issues. Her husband Bob's picked up the torch, and he's now representing the people of College Station. So all of the things that I've mentioned to this point make up some of the formal reasons for my nominating Dr. Brick for this award. And believe me, I could go on. But let me tell you the most important reason that she's being recognized here today. First and foremost, she is a good and honorable person. She has stayed true to the family values passed down to her by her family members here in Longview through the years. She credits her mother, Blanche Killingsworth Henderson Abbey, for having the greatest influence in her life, but she also acknowledges her aunt, Lois Killingsworth Jackson, the First Lady Mayor, and grandmother Florence Ann Leith Killingsworth, and her uncle F.R. Jackson, and her Longview pastor, Dr. Ford, names that many of you recognize today. For all of the years that I have known her, I have admired her calm and effective leadership qualities, and along with her work ethic, from first as a member of the class of '57, then at Baylor, and continuing through the years. For all of these reasons, I was compelled to nominate her for this award. Her life and her accomplishments have truly brought favorable recognition to both the city of Longview and to the institution that we all love so much, Longview High School. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to present Dr. Blanche Henderson Brick.
Thank you, Rex. This is indeed an honor to be here, and I almost recognize myself in his introduction. But this is an amazing campus. To be on this campus and to get to visit with one of the classes and talk history has really been fun today. It's been a joy, and I value Rex's nomination very highly. Rex was always the leader of our class. As he said, we were together all the way through, long before he was named the king of Longview High School in 1957. He had always been our class leader, and I only question his judgment sometimes in cases like this, but I really do appreciate it, and I appreciate his service on the Railroad Commission. He had a very distinguished career there and a very important part of our state. He's right that my family roots run very deep in the Longview school district. My grandparents moved to Longview so their children could attend schools here in town. And then I and my cousins and all, we were privileged to graduate from Longview High School. And then I was able to teach here. So very definitely I have strong ties and strong feelings with Longview and with the school district here. When I was thinking today about what I might say, and I hope you can hear some of what I'm saying, I don't know if you can or not, but I'm trying. The song that kept coming to my mind was a song I like a lot. It's called The Way We Were. Memories light the corners of my mind, misty watercolored memories of the way we were. Scattered pictures of the smiles we left behind, smiles we gave to one another for the way we were. Can it be that it was all so simple then, or has time rewritten every line? If we had the chance to do it all again, tell me, would we, could we? These years from 1945 to 1957, when we were growing up, were what I like to think of as the golden years. Those of us who came of age during this time followed the greatest generation that had survived the Depression and won World War II. And in many ways, we were basking in the warm, golden days that followed some of the most difficult years in our nation's history. In those early years of our lives, we did have concerns because by 1949, the Soviet Union had the atomic bomb and the Cold War was well underway. But there was still the sense that wars happened over there. And even though we dutifully participated in getting under our desk for atomic bomb drills, such drills actually highlighted how little we really understood the power of the atomic bomb in the Cold War period we were living in. By the time we graduated from high school in 1957, we were aware that our world was changing as we entered the space race with the Soviet Union Yet most of us were able to continue our careers and our marry and lead peaceful lives. And we really had very few concerns at that time for what was happening over there and out there in space. Our families, our local communities still form the basis of our world, even though the Korean War and rock and roll had begun to rock this world. We still were closer to the security we had known after World War II than we were to the world we would come to know in the 1960s, when reciting the Scouts Honor Pledge would give way to whatever, and if it feels good, do it, and slow dancing to Pat Boone's April Love would be part of the past, as Elvis Presley and Little Richard began to shake it up by the time we were in high school. So when I let my mind wander back to those years in Campus Ward, Foster Junior High, and Longview High School, I can still feel the warm glow of the way we were. And I remember all of those who made it such a safe and happy time for our generation. First were our parents, who, having somehow survived the darkest years, some of the darkest years in our nation's history, found the time and resources to support public education in Longview and provide us with the opportunities many of them had not had. In 1907, John Dewey wrote in the School and Society that what the best and wisest parent wants for his own child, that must the community want for all of its children. I am grateful that we had wise parents and grandparents who built these schools for all the children of the community. And of course, I remember the teachers who somehow managed to keep us all moving forward. I remember Jewel Kiefer teaching us Greek civilization in the 4th grade, and Lorena Slack sharing her memories of her trip to Mexico in the 5th grade. And how will we ever thank those brave souls who put up with us in junior high and finally delivered us to the halls of LHS, where Addie Jo Williams began to dissect the world of biology in her laboratory of life, and Udo Jansen opened the world of Shakespeare to us, while C.C. Turner and Helen Anderson taught us that there was an order and a beauty in algebra and in English grammar that could actually help us develop the ability to think clearly and solve the problems we would face in our lives. And there were principals like G.B. Wilson, who took time to create a girls softball team at Campus Board long before Title IX required such things, and T.G. Fields, who roamed the halls of LHS offering appropriate warnings or compliments as our behavior warranted. Can it be that it was all so simple then? Or has time rewritten every line? When I ask myself, would we do it all again? Would we? Could we? I know that we no longer live in that warm and secure world. We face a far different world today, filled with technology we only envisioned in Dick Tracy cartoons. But I also know that warm, happy world is still part of all we are today. And I can only say as sincerely as possible, thank you to those who gave us that world, and to those of you in the class of 1957 and so many others who shared that world with me and have given me the chance to remember and be grateful today. These are the memories that will always light the corners of my mind. So today, as we receive these awards, we honor our families, our teachers, our community who built Longview Independent School District, and all of those who continue to serve it and who have made it so strong over the years. In closing, I would like to repeat the words of our school song, written in 1936 in the midst of the Great Depression by the first Lobo band director, Mr. Leonard Fulkerson. All hail to dear old Longview High School. We pledge you honor today. We will tell the world that your honor will stay. All hail to those who came before us and made you so strong. We will never falter or do you wrong. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
At this time, will Mrs. Whitney Scott and Mr. Joe Don Holly make their way to the podium.
I hope you can hear me. Is that okay? Who do you get when you mix a principal architect of the world-renowned HKS architectural firm with a 6'4" cyclist, a UT honors grad, and a designer of an award-winning Dell hospital? Who designs a subway station that's destination makes you feel as if you stepped into a forest? Who designs a maze for families to climb, and once they're at the top, they're able to look out over the city? Who designs award-winning, state-of-the-art hospitals where research and care are taken to see that every recovery room and treatment room holds world-class art to surround the patient? Studies are showing that art accelerates the healing process. In fact, let me just mention a few of his pieces. Seton Freestanding Emergency Department Comprehension Clinic in Austin, Texas. Temecula Regional Medical Center in Temecula, California. St. Vincent's Michael Center in Jacksonville, Florida. Seton Medical Center in Kyle, Texas. Seton Medical Center in Round Rock, Texas. The George Washington University Hospital in Washington, D.C. Spring Valley Medical Office Center in Las Vegas, Nevada. Integris Blackwell Regional Hospital in Blackwell, Oklahoma. And of course, the Dell Medical Center at the University of Austin in Austin, Texas. Well, I'll tell you who you get. You get one of our own, an individual raised behind the pine curtain, someone who is a Lobo and a creative mind that hosts his architectural team on an entire floor among the skyscrapers in Dallas, Texas. This astute mind is Joe Don Holly, class of 1990. Joe, as his mom calls him, is the son of Pat and Don Holly and his brother, Nick Holly, who is also a graduate of Longview High School. You can read Joe's bio in your program, and you can find it no surprise that Joe is among the honorees today, like Blanche, Ray, and Andy. Brilliant individuals in a class of their own, a distinguished Lobo class. Joe is proof that amazing individuals blossom when brought up in a small town environment. It has always been one of Longview's best kept secrets. I would proudly put our Lobos up against Chicago, LA, or New York. Our distinguished alums are making amazing improvements to our world, our society, and our quality of life. Our children thrive here in this environment, and Joe is not only thriving, he is shining. A few facts not mentioned in your program about Joe I'd like to mention. He has been a docent with the Dallas Historical Society for many years, giving amazing Saturday architectural tours of downtown Dallas. Joe is constantly checking on his loved ones, seeing if they're doing well, asking how they handled COVID, what do they need, even to the extent when I had COVID, he came to Longview, he took his mom and my parents to get their vaccines, all the while juggling large-scale corporate projects. Joe is a kind soul. He is a humble soul. He is a giving soul. And it is no surprise that Joe is the symbol of the iceberg. You know those people. They're on top, looking smooth, classy, humble, but below, underneath the water, Joe is directing a legion of people. When I think of Joe, outside of all of his accolades, I see a person that makes you feel a little bit better. He makes you feel a little bit stronger, and you feel a little bit kinder because you were just treated so kindly by him. I am honored to introduce my friend, the LISD Distinguished Alum, ladies and gentlemen, Joe Don Hawley.
Okay. All right. Afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? Good? All right. Here we go. So thank you for the very generous introduction, Whitney. Whitney and her family have been lifelong friends of mine, and actually those two tables there are really part of my extended family here in Longview. So thank you all for being here. First and foremost, I want to thank the Longview Independent School District for this Distinguished Alumni honor. I had an incredible public school experience in LISD. Reflecting on the teachers, administrators, and my fellow students with whom I shared my public education, I was unbelievably fortunate to have the experience that I did. Even though I do not have kids of my own, I'm a huge supporter of the public education system and strongly believe that every child has the right to an education. I hesitate to start naming and thanking specific teachers because I will likely but unintentionally leave too many out. Suffice to say, my journey from Hudson Pep School, any Tigers out there? Former Tigers? To Judson Middle School, any Blue Devils? No? How about some Lobos? Any Lobos? To Longview High School guided me directly to the University of Texas at Austin and into my architectural career at HKS in Dallas. To me, becoming an architect was never an ego-driven decision. My ambitions going into architecture were much more modest. I just wanted to improve my corner of the world and leave it a little better than I found it. And that's one of the reasons that architecture is such a rewarding profession, is because the work that we do as architects ultimately manifests itself in a building project that contributes to people's lives, hopefully in a positive way. What I never anticipated was how equally rewarding the relationships would be that I've built over the 25 years with colleagues, clients, consultants, contractors, and others. During the pandemic, having limited in-person contact with the people that I work with most closely has reinforced my belief in architecture as a truly collaborative profession that thrives when teams can work together face-to-face to create something beautiful and functional. I'm glad that there's finally a light at the end of this pandemic tunnel and that hopefully things are slowly returning to normal. My parents, Don and Pat, were both educators in the Longview Independent School District. My dad coached and taught at both Foster Middle School in the 1960s and then later at Longview High School. He later became an administrator in the 1970s. My mom taught at Foster Middle School in the 1960s, then left teaching for 15 years to raise her family and returned to finish her teaching career at Bramlett Elementary. Although she loved teaching and enjoyed spending time with her students and fellow teachers, my mom's return to the classroom was for something more fundamental. My mom and dad wanted me to be able to go to college and graduate from college debt-free. I know that I didn't realize or appreciate it sufficiently at the time, but in a lifetime of gifts that my parents have given me, my college education and the ability to leave my college debt-free was the greatest. I've always said that it was my parents who provided me with my architectural education, and it was HKS that showed me how much I could do with it. Any success that I've had in my life can be traced directly to my parents and to my career at HKS. I never would have imagined that I'd be a part of one of the largest architecture firms in the world, working with some of the best professionals in the industry on these fantastic and rewarding projects. And I'm proud to say that it all started in the schools of Longview and in the Longview Independent School District. And again, I want to thank Whitney for her nomination and the Longview Independent School District for this honor. Thank you.
At this time, would Lori Wiegler and Dr. Andy Mack please make your way to the podium?
Hello, I'm here on behalf of Spencer, Madison, and Luke to bring forward their speech for their dad. Can you hear me okay? No? Okay. Can you hear me now? Okay. Study hard, have some fun, say your prayers, I love you, Dad. These words were the closing message to the handwritten notes we received from our father twice a week from the time we left home for college until the day we returned back to Longview to work alongside him. 2 letters a week for each of his kids, ranging from 8 to 12 years of schooling post-high school. There was always $20 for each of us to treat ourselves inside, but that isn't what motivated us to check our mail each week. There were always uplifting words of encouragement as well as spiritual words of wisdom that pertained to exactly what was going on in our lives. Whether we had an upcoming exam or a recent breakup, he was always right there with us, pushing us forward to be the best version of ourselves that he knew we were capable of being. This type of encouragement did not start, though, when we left home. It began much earlier. Our dad was the coach of every team we ever played on, and he found time to coach teams for other kids as well as when his community needed someone to fill that role. He wasn't a meager sideline coach either. He taught each kid on our team to swing a bat, let me flip my pages here, without moving their feet while literally lying on the ground, holding our cleats steady, and I'm sure praying we didn't drop the bat on his head. He always pushed every kid on our team to work hard, and it would pay off. And it was a rare year that we weren't the champs of our leagues. If we won, the team always celebrated with a shaving cream fight, followed by the ceremonial shaving of his head. We have pictures of those. He always was one to give us motivation to get the job done. I think a lot of people in this room can also relate to this. Our dad goes by a lot of names: Dr. Mack, Mayor Mack, Coach Mack, Deacon Mack, and most recently, Grandy. As a new grandpa to his first grandchild and namesake, Andy James Hansen. He is a man that holds many titles with many demanding jobs, and every single one is done to the best of his ability. Though not everyone will always agree with all of his decisions and views, it is easy to recognize his good intentions behind everything he does. I personally don't know why anyone would want all of the responsibilities he has, but it is apparent that he loves what he does, feels blessed to be in the positions he's in, and wouldn't change a thing about his incredibly busy schedule. It probably helps that he's able to multitask like no one we've ever come across. We like to call him most efficient man in the world, and that is very true. He is passionate about all that he is involved in or commits to, and the city of Longview ranks pretty high on that list. When he finishes his 3rd and final mayoral term, he he will have served on the city council as either a council member or mayor for a total of 18 years. That's long enough to put another kid through LHS. Go Lobos. He loves this school and this town and is proud of how far we have come. Servant, leader, mentor, friend. All words that describe our dad perfectly. His giving and generous heart shines brightly through his time, service, and donations. He is always the first person we know to help someone in a time of need. Answers calls at all hours of the night. Sorry, Mom. And is someone you can depend on no matter what. He goes out of his way for his family, friends, and people he doesn't even know, because that's the person he is. We deeply believe his servant's heart comes from his amazing parents and the upbringing he had, where he was taught to love God, love others, and to give his all at anything he does. If we were listing accomplishments and awards, we could be here all day. So let's just talk about a few things in his business and personal life that we know he considers landmark. First of all, a big thank you to Longview High School and the whole LISD for giving my father the necessary tools and skills to be the leader he is today. Because of his years in this amazing school system and his brilliant mind, amazing things such as these have come to be. Lear Park Complex, Legacy Longview, Go Giver Gala, Ledco, all game-changing events or organizations in the progression of Longview. The love of his life and rock, Kelly Mack, and his 3 kids, Spencer Mack Hansen, Madison, and Luke Mack. Oldest daughter, Spencer, is a practicing orthodontist here in Longview with her husband, Andrew Hansen. Madison, his middle child, practices general dentistry with his brother, Chris. And Andy's son, Luke, will be returning next summer to join him in practice as an oral surgeon. And that probably makes our dad happier than most anything else, seeing his kids working and serving in the city he loves so much. There is a special joy we all experience getting to volunteer alongside one another. Dad, we love you and could not be more proud of who you are, what you stand for, and how much you have accomplished. You deserve all of the love and adoration, and we are so sorry that we couldn't be here to celebrate with you today. But as a small token of our love for you, we all went out and got a tattoo or a favorite saying in your handwriting. Study hard, have some fun, and say your prayers. I love you, Dad. We can't wait to show them off next time we see you. Just kidding. So that came from his children, and they were sorry they couldn't be here, but they had other things going on. So, okay, there you go. You're so welcome. Awesome.
I can't just stand here. Was y'all's food spicy too? Mine was a little spicy. I want to say thank you for allowing me to be here today. It's a very humbling honor to be before you. You know, as the mayor of Longview, I get invited to a lot of events. I get to make speeches, I get to write publications, I get to do a lot of things that come with being in that position. And I have an amazing group of people that help me when I have to do things like this. All I have to do is say, I have a speech or I have a publication or I have something that needs to be done, and it's done. They're incredible. They do a great job, and I couldn't do it without them. And if I would have asked them today to write me a speech for this presentation, you would have had an eloquent, amazing speech to listen to. But I didn't do that. I thought I'd just talk to you from the heart today. So let's take a little journey down memory lane. Okay, it all started for me at Moselle Johnson Elementary School. I had fantastic teachers, from Miss Avis, Miss Buchanan, Miss Garrison. They were amazing. And first through fourth grade was so wonderful as a child growing up. Did I mention I lived on Eden Drive? I lived on Eden Drive growing up as a kid. It was a great place to live as a kid. Lots of kids, lots of fun. But you see, if you went to LISD, Eden Drive was the line. And what that meant was, when they wanted to change the school district boundaries, Eden Drive was the street that got changed. So first through fourth grade, wonderful time, Moselle Johnson. Before fifth grade started, the line moved. So everyone on the north side of Eden Drive continued at Moselle Johnson, all my friends. I lived on the south side of Eden Drive. So I was off to Bramlett. My life was ruined. I didn't even know where Bramlett was. I thought it was a foreign country. I'd never heard of Bramlett. All I knew was Moselle Johnson. But I went to Bramlett in fifth grade, and I was blessed to have the most amazing human being as a teacher you could ever imagine, Miss Ola B. Timberlake. She loved me. She was amazing. And Bramlett was now my new home. Life was good again. I had no problems with Bramlett. But of course, sixth grade, the line changes again. So sixth grade, I'm back to Judson. Well, that was also an amazing experience because I got to meet Mr. Wesley Watley, who's here at my table today. He was my principal. What a great example he was for a sixth grader. What a great example he is today. Thank you for being here, sir. I also got to meet Coach McBride. Coach McBride taught me how to play basketball. I was really good at basketball. I was 6'7" in the sixth grade. I was highly recruited. Y'all didn't get that, did you? I'm not 6'7" even today. I wasn't 6'7" in the sixth grade. Okay. I also got to meet poor Dr. Snowden. Dr. Snowden was the band director at Judson. If you were in athletics in Judson in sixth grade, you either had to be in band or choir. It was a requirement. So I couldn't sing at all. So obviously it was band. I thought I'd play some cool instrument like the drums, the trumpet, maybe the saxophone. I was given the trombone. I had no idea which end to even blow into the trombone. And poor Dr. Snowden realized that after 3 days, he sent me to choir. He said, this will never work. You will never be in the band, you'll be in the choir. Well, he didn't realize 2 days later they sent me back because I was worse at choir than I was at band. So back to Dr. Snowden in the sixth grade, and no one was happier than Dr. Snowden when the line changed again in seventh grade, and I'm off now to Forest Park. So Forest Park, eighth grade, I got to be with Miss Brenda McKinney, who taught me math. I got to meet Mr. London and Mr. Meisenheimer, who taught me shop. I got to be with Coach Cowan, who taught me athletics. And by the way, it's the only one that I ever received licks from through my education. I don't know if any of y'all know that, but when we were in school, when you got in trouble, you got licks with a paddle, a wooden paddle. It made a huge impression on all of us as children. It worked. I left my locker open. It was mandatory licks. I got my licks. I've never left the locker open since eighth grade. It works. I also got to meet Mr. Yoakum, who was a counselor and tried to get me to play basketball at Forest Park. But they had this thing called a hair code. And I had really good-looking hair back then, and I was not about to cut it to play a silly game of basketball, so I didn't play basketball. But I enjoyed Forest Park, but I also met Mr. Morris. Mr. Morris instilled fear in every child at Forest Park if you got caught in the hallway after the bell rang. His cowboy boots and his bald head, you could hear him coming a mile away. I have since been acquainted with Mr. Morris as an adult, and he really turned out to be a pretty nice guy. But as an eighth grader, I was terrified of Mr. Morris. Well, off to high school. High school brought about a change that I never think would have occurred. I had a teacher in 10th grade who I didn't think could be any prettier of a human being in my whole life. Miss Sylvia Hunt. I don't know what she taught. I have no idea. I don't care. I never missed her class. I was never late. She was amazingly beautiful. I also had Mr. C.C. Turner, who taught me calculus, Mr. Wiley, who taught me physics, and poor Miss Canyon and Miss Bassett. They tried so hard to teach me English. They did their very best. Who would have thought you needed English to be successful, okay? If I'd have just known, I'd have taken a do-over. I know every time I have a publication or a speech or something that's written, Miss Bassett and Miss Canyon have their red pencils out going, if you would have only listened to just circle my errors. I know it and I can feel it and I appreciate it. They were so wonderful. I also had Coach Wendell Graves, who taught me how to play golf and a lot about life. What a great man he was. And all this to say what an amazing support group I had at Longview Independent School District. I was one of those lucky kids. I had support from my teachers, but also had support from my family. My mom and dad were always available. They never missed anything. They were everything we ever did. I thought my dad used to have a twin. I don't know how he was able to do his medical practice, be at all of our athletic events, our sporting events, all the things that we did, he was always present. And then he was also the team doctor for the Lobos for 37 years. So I had great support. Marion is still my biggest supporter. Every other Thursday, she's at council meeting or watch it on TV when she gets lazy and doesn't show up at the meetings on time. But after every meeting, I still get the critique. It usually says something like this on a text. Great meeting, you did good, love you, talk slower. Almost every meeting, and I appreciate the critiques, Marvin. Mariam was also on the school board when we were in high school, and so she was able to give all of us our diplomas, which was very special for us to receive our diplomas from my mom. My brother Chris is here. He was on the school board for over 20 years, and he was able to give all three of my children their diplomas. And my younger brother, Ben, was not able to be here today, but he's also a general surgeon here in town, and we all went through Longview High School, all of our kids, all of our family. And there's a common thread there. That common thread is LISD. I'm a huge proponent of public education. I think it's very important. I think it's life. I think it's important to experience public education. And I was fortunate that my wife, Kelly, was also a product of public education. She's the rock, the cornerstone of our family. She's the one that made sure our kids were always where they were supposed to be. She was the mom, and I'll always appreciate her watching over our kids while I was not around. But public education played a huge role in all of our kids' lives, from Hudson Pep and Miss Bo to Foster and Mr. Clark, and to the high school and Mr. Brewer. They all had wonderful experiences and all went on to do professional school. But it's the system. It's a process. It's an environment here at LISD, and it works. And I'm almost embarrassed to be here today, standing up here, being honored when it's you all that should be being honored. You're the process, you're the environment, you're the system that makes it work. From every bus driver to cafeteria worker, custodian, coach, teacher, educator, administrator, principal, superintendent, counselor, school board member. You make it work. It's you that makes this successful. You are the big green machine. Go Lobo.
All right, would Chapin Miller and Mr. Ray Wade make your way to the podium, please?
I'm sorry if you cannot understand me. It's probably not the microphone, it's just my East Texas accent, so try to parse the words here a little bit for me. I do want to say thank you to Longview ISD for selecting Ray for this prestigious award. After Ray found out that he was being honored, he expressed to me how flattered and humbled he was to be recognized as a Longview ISD Distinguished Alumnus. So I really appreciate y'all picking Ray for this. He is a great man. How appropriate and special is that we're having the ceremony in the Longview gym where many great basketball players played, and the previous gym where Ray played over in the green building. Is that the correct?
Green gym.
The green gym, okay. So much of Ray's success is rooted in the basketball gym, and we'll talk a little bit about that today. While in Longview, Ray was passionate about playing and competing in basketball. He told me many stories about how basketball has influenced his life and career. Having a burning desire to play basketball in college fueled Ray. As a young child, he would sneak out of the house at night as everyone's asleep and walk down to the park and play basketball. Ray was not the tallest, quickest, or most athletic person at the Longview basketball program. But he was the most determined. Ray did not have any basketball scholarships coming out of high school, but that did not stop Ray from playing in college. He sent out personal letters across the country to many colleges and universities to try to promote himself to get a chance and an opportunity to play at a college. Ray found that opportunity in Oregon, of all places. Ray left the comfort and security of Longview to attend Mount Hood Community College in Gresham, Oregon, to pursue his basketball dream. After completing his freshman year at Mount Hood, Ray's basketball coach brought him into his office to have a conversation. It wasn't an easy conversation. The coach told Ray that, "We're bringing another player in at your position." Ray was devastated, but he was also scared. Is this the end of my basketball career? Is this the end of my college education opportunity? But that didn't stop him. Ray's coach said, "You know what? We got the gym open every morning at 6 o'clock in the morning before school starts. Why don't you come in here for a couple hours and work on your jump shot?" So Ray did. Ray didn't blame other people for somebody else coming in to try to take his spot. It just made him fight harder. So every morning, from Monday to Friday, he went in the gym, practiced on his jump shot. Then we'd go to class, and then he'd come back to a full practice in the afternoon with the team. Ray made the team his sophomore year at a different position, and then he was able to transition over to St. Martin's over in Lacey, Washington, to continue his basketball career. While at St. Martin's, he became school president, student body president, and that kind of started his political career that Ray has. Eventually, Ray was able to attend Oregon State University to get a master's degree in Japanese language and culture. Ray was able to go to Japan and study the culture and language even more, and he really loved the Japanese culture and helped him in his career. So he decided to go to Japan with $200 in his pocket, no job, and no really idea of what he was going to do. But when he got over there, he was soon able to find a job as an American teacher at the schools over there. While he was there, still loving basketball and missing it, he was able to integrate into the burgeoning Japanese basketball community. Ray was hired as the Japanese interpreter for the team members that were from America that probably couldn't understand their coaches and other people for the school or for the team while they were in Japan. So after several years in Japan, touring with the basketball team, meeting many people in the basketball industry, he decided to go to New York City to continue his Japanese interpretation career and also to find other ventures in basketball. There were many other leagues that he was able to participate in, not necessarily as a player, but as, just being involved in it. He was able to hook up with a New York City law firm, did many interpreting jobs for them on their clients that had Japanese clients on there. He also was able to be involved in the basketball industry as owner of a team. Is that correct, Ray?
Yes.
Okay. So Ray was able to own a professional basketball team while he was in New York City. He doesn't tell many people that. He decided he needed to come back to Longview. His sister had passed, unfortunately, and she had 4 children. 5. Dang, Ray, I left one out.
It's 5.
5 children, I'm sorry. Ray was not married. Ray did not have any, girlfriend, a partner, or spouse, but he decided to drop everything he had done in New York, Japan, his career, come back to Longview and raise his nieces and nephews. Rock's here today. I know Rock very well. We from high school when we coached him. Ray and I coached him in high school. But I don't know too many people that would just drop everything to come back, raise children by themselves, just because. That was the right thing to do, and I appreciate you, Ray, for doing that, and admire you for doing that.
Thank you, sir.
So Ray came back and made the ultimate sacrifice, didn't question anything, he just knew it was the right thing to do. So here he is in Longview now. Ray and I met when I was working downtown, and Ray came into the bank, and we just started talking one day, and we started talking about basketball. And I played basketball a little bit, so I was familiar. I was never as good as Ray, but I still enjoyed it. And Ray was coaching a small basketball team in Longview at that time, and he said, "Man, you need to come see us play." I said, "I don't know, Ray." He kept working on me, and finally he said, "We're hosting a playoff game tonight. Will you come watch us?" I said, "Okay." So I get there, and Ray's team is not playing real well that night. They were down about 20 points. It's a playoff game. It's in the third quarter, and the quarters in basketball in high school are only about 8 minutes long, so you don't have a lot of time to make up a 20-point deficit. So I was watching Ray on the sidelines there, and he was getting a little frustrated over there with the boys, but he kept pushing, he kept being positive, and he just got the best out of those kids he could, and they came back and they won that game. So that was the first game I saw Ray coach come back and win, and it was just one of the few, the many comebacks that Ray has done outside the basketball court that I've actually seen. So once Ray was back in Longview, he said, what am I going to do now? You know, it's kind of hard to be a Japanese interpreter in Longview, not a lot of business to do that, but he would do a little bit in Houston and Dallas. But he set his sights on the barber college. There used to be a barber college here in town. It would help a lot of people get careers outside of Longview, in Longview, but he was like, how can I help my community? So he started the barber college, and when he got there, it did not have an education accreditation to it, so he couldn't get the government funding for the students until he got the accreditation. And I've talked to Ray many times about the difficulties he had trying to get the accreditation. They don't make it easy for you to get that accreditation, but Ray stuck with it. He did not have a mentor to tell him how to do it. He did not have a safety net to catch him when he stumbled. Ray just powered through it. He did it on his own. It's just amazing, right? I mean, he didn't know what he was doing, but he made it work. I mean, it was crazy. But I can't say I know many people that have done things like that. But it just takes courage and determination to not give up on yourself, to just keep going, to know, you know what, it's going to be hard, but it's not going to stop me. I'm just going to keep going. And that's what Ray's about. We have another story that I really know well, because Ray and I talked about this a lot, and I helped Ray on this campaign a little bit to be city council. So the first time he ran for city council, he didn't win. A lot of people would just fold and say, you know what, it's not for me, I'll try something else. But a few years later after that, Ray said, Chapin, I want to run again. I said, let's do it. So he ran again, won it the second time, won it the third time. So he's a two-term councilman right now. But on the most recent one, he was down a lot in the early voting. And in his district, which is District 3, that kind of dictates the winner. So if you're not ahead big time in early voting, it's probably not looking good for you. But Ray didn't care. Ray told me, you know what? I'm going to hustle. I'm going to win this thing. I'm going to be honest with you. I probably didn't believe Ray at that point because he was down so many votes. I never told you that, but I was like, I don't know, Ray. But it didn't matter. Ray was out there. He was campaigning. He was knocking on doors. He was passing out flyers, and Ray won. And it was just another comeback that, you know what, a lot of people would just give up. But that's not Ray. Ray doesn't give up. He just keeps going. He has determination. It takes courage to do that. It's just so easy just to quit and say, you know what, it's not for me. But that's not Ray. Ray said, because I've asked him several times, why do you keep volunteering your time to be city council? You got a lot of other things to do. You have a barber college in Dallas. You have a barber college in Longview. You have a barber college in Phoenix. You just don't have a lot of spare time. He says, I want to give back to my community, and I want to improve District 3. And I feel like he's done a great job of that, and he's continued to do that. But I am very honored to call Ray my good friend. You come a long way from being a boy that just wanted to play basketball to being a successful entrepreneur and politician. Ray's determination and positive attitude should be an inspiration to Longview ISD students. It takes a lot of courage and determination to be successful. Ray has shown me how courageous and determined he is with his family, political career, and businesses. Ray has been knocked down, but he does not get knocked out. He is a fighter. He should be a person all Longview ISD students and alumni should attempt to mimic and admire. Congratulations, Ray.
Good afternoon, everyone. It sounds like it sounds good from up here. I don't know how it sounds out there. So I'll just get through the speech. Chapin, that was a great speech. I was in Chapin's wedding, and I have a funny feeling his wife helped him write that speech because we know who's the brains over with him. But Chapin's been a great friend, and I really appreciate him stepping up and nominating me for this distinguished award. I would be remiss to sit and to think that everything I accomplished was solely on me and my hard work, because unfortunately it wasn't. And, I would like to take this opportunity because publicly I never get a chance to do it. And I am surrounded by a lot of people who love me and care for me. So, it's been an emotional year. I won't get emotional. So, at any rate, my family is here, my sisters, my good friends, my nephew, my good friend Kitty is here. First of the year, my family, we lost my brother, lost my mom before that. So it was a big emotional year. And so to be recognized, for me to be recognized, I only want to recognize the people who love me. And that's what I'll do today. So I'm going to ask them to stand up. We'll start off with my sister, Diane. She's the oldest of the family. She's been there forever. Thank you. I love you guys. Please recognize her. Thank you, Diane. My sister, Wendy, is here. Wendy, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Diane, Longview class of 1968. Thank you. My sister, Wendy, class of 1979, and her husband, Ramon, who's there in the back. My sister Diane's husband couldn't be here, Lonnie, his class of 1978. My family is an extended family, so my sister Susan Pope is here. Stand up, Susan, class of 1979 as well, along with my sister Wendy. They look like twins, don't they, guys? That's why it's class of 79. Mom, Ann Smead, please stand up. Ann Smead has been in my life since yay little. We love you, Mom. Then I have my good brothers in the back. Stevie Johnson, class of 1986. Thank you, brother. Tyrone Horn, class of 1987. Thank you so much for all your support. And then my son, my nephew, Rahman Muhammad. Rock has been my favorite nephew, graduated from Trinity High School, but he's a Lobo at heart. And in closing, I want to thank the committee for nominating me. You know, being raised here in Longview, growing up in South Longview, you know, there's so many things that you see that you sometimes think are not. They're actually available for you to achieve and to accomplish in life. And so with this honor, I want it to be a representation for all students here in Longview and public schools, Longview Junior High, the elementary school system, that honestly, you can accomplish it. I was born and raised on Young Street, right by the bus barn, right by the administrative building. When I was a little kid, I would ride the bus out to Judson Middle School, Moselle Johnson School, and sometimes I would miss a bus, and my mom would say, just get on any one of them and just ride it all the way to the bus barn and you'll get home. And that was how I would get home sometimes from school. So I'm proud to be from Longview. I'm very proud to be a graduate of Longview High School, whether I'm in Japan or New York City or anywhere in Europe. I proudly say Longview, Texas. I don't try to abbreviate it by saying it's near Dallas or East Texas. I proudly say Longview, Texas. Thank you, everyone, for your recognition with this and acknowledging it. God bless you. Thank you. Go Lobos.
Well, that concludes our ceremonies. I'd like to say congratulations to our distinguished alumni. Can we give them one more big hand, please? All four of them. Thank you very much. Please feel free to stay here and visit as long as you want. And that concludes today's program with Go Lobos. Thank you all for coming.
Can we get all of our honorees over here with your plaques so we can take a picture?